Hi, and thanks for joining. If you're new here, I'm Wendy and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at garage sales, flea markets, thrift stores, just about anywhere we can find things to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, you're in the right place. Today's video is going to be what sold for the week of November 19th through 25th. Let's get started. The first thing that sold was a vintage 1992 Rudolph the Reindeer animated Hermie the Elf toy or decoration. You would squeeze its hand, and I don't remember if it would sing a song or exactly what it would do. But we picked that up at a thrift store. We paid $3.24 for it, and it eventually sold on best offer for $25 even. I was surprised it didn't sell any faster. I felt like these had a pretty good sell-through rate, but ours kind of stuck around for a little while, so I don't know if we had it overpriced or what exactly the deal was on that. We do still have Yukon Cornelius or whatever his name is. I think we still have him listed, so I probably need to go back and look at my pricing on that one because I was hoping it would sell this year and it didn't. I think it's probably a little late for it to sell. So I probably need to look at lowering it to try to get it to make sure it moves next year. And probably need to also delist and then relist that one again so that it'll be a fresh listing. Next up was a pair of Tread Step Donatella 2 women's equestrian riding boots. These we got at a garage sale. We paid $10 for them and they sold almost immediately on offer to buyer for $74.98. Unfortunately, they were returned. The buyer stated that even though she had had her daughter professionally sized at a local, I guess, riding shop or something like that, when she got them, the calf size, I guess, was not correct because they weren't able to zip them up around the calf. And these particular boots not only have like a foot size, but they also have a calf size. So you're sizing both the foot and the calf, so because you want them to fit like very tightly around the leg as well. So she said that I guess she figured that her daughter was sized incorrectly, and that's why they didn't fit, because there was nothing wrong with the boots at all. She acknowledged that the boots were in perfect condition. So she did return those, and we have since relisted them. They do have a bunch of washers on them again already. I think these boots retail for like $300, so I expect them to sell again soon. Next up was a pair of Torrid women's black wash vintage embroidered boyfriend jeans. We got these in the Goodwill bins. We paid 92 cents for them and they sold on offer to buyer for $27.18. Next up was just some old fabric that I had in my personal collection that was a scrap of fabric that I didn't need anymore. This was a burgundy velvet burnout, like kind of a snakeskin type design. This I sold for $11.99. We got positive feedback on that. Next up was a hymnal that we got in the Goodwill bins when we were playing Bins Bingo. This item was not in our Bins Bingo video, but will be in a future Goodwill bins video when we show the rest of the footage from that particular visit, so be on the lookout for that. This was called Hymns of Grace and Glory by Lifeline Publications. I do always pick up hymnals and a lot of Bibles, not all Bibles, but we do pick up a lot of hymnals. Hymnals are very popular, and most of them sell almost immediately when we get them in our store. This one we paid $1.18 for, and it sold for our full asking price immediately when we got it listed. Okay, next up is the other facial exerciser or facial zapper. I had mentioned in the last What Sold video that we had sold one of these. I think the other one was called like a derma wand or something like that. We had picked this up at an estate sale on like day 4 when they had everything at 75% off and were liquidating everything. We sold the other one for like $35, I think, and we had gotten both of these in a bag, and I don't remember how much we had paid for the bag in total, but I had probably $10, and then I had broken down our cost per item at $5. But this one was called a Dermal Tone Electric Facial Exerciser Treatment, and then it had the cord and all the manuals. So this one was a bit more of a bundle deal and sold for more than the other one that we sold. This one sold for $66.38 on offer to buyer, and it sold almost immediately as well, just like the other one. We paid $5.14 for this one, and we got positive feedback on it. So like I mentioned in the last What Sold video, be on the lookout for these vintage health and beauty items that claim to fix wrinkles and fine lines and skin blemishes and things like that, because they will definitely sell. But make sure you don't pick up anything that was banned or recalled, because that will definitely get you a suspension or a policy violation. So be cautious about that. Next up was another one of the 2011 McDonald's Happy Meal Kung Fu Panda Crane Wings of Whirling. We have sold 2 of these. Actually, we had 2 in our store and we sold both of them like back to back almost. This one sold for $8.09, and we had picked this up at a garage sale for just 20 cents. It was new in the package. Next up was a 21-piece cut-out magnet set. It had a bunch of different safari animals in it. We had gotten this in a bag of toys at a thrift store, and like I've said in previous videos, we always list everything because it always surprises us what sells. This is not something that I would have anticipated selling, but it did. This sold for, let's see, $10.38 on offer to buyer, and we had paid just 18 cents for this. Next up was the Smithsonian Institution kimono that I picked up in the Goodwill bins during our bins bingo trip. This sold immediately for $29.99, and we had paid just $1.18 for that at the bins. Probably if like hindsight 2020, I would have listed this for a little bit more because it did sell so quickly. I had a really hard time comping this and trying to figure out exactly what I had. I could not find anything exactly like it when I was comping it, so I was really guessing at my comps. Looking back on it now, I probably would have priced it more at like $49.99, but I don't really have any regrets about it. It sold quickly and we made great money on it. But looking back on it now, I probably would have priced it at more like $49.99, and I felt like it probably still would have sold at close to full price or at full price if I had done that. So just some information for you there. Next up was another item that we got in the bins bingo trip that sold immediately. This was a Dooney & Burke Chatham plaid large leisure shopper tote bag or purse. And it was like one of the coated bags, so it was like, kind of the plasticky material, and then it had leather trim on it. When we first picked up this bag, it appeared to be in like really, really good condition with maybe some minor scuffing and things like that on it, although it had some pretty significant staining on the interior lining. But when I did get it back home and looked at it more closely, I could see that there was a very small puncture on the outside of the purse that we had to disclose. And so because of that, we did sell it for $29.99. We just wanted to move it out the store. We did not want to get any complaints about that. And, I did put read in the title. It sold immediately, and we got some really unusual feedback on that purse, which I'll show you on the screen here, because we never heard a word from the buyer about it afterwards. We didn't get any complaints. She didn't message us about it. And then when I saw this feedback, which was actually just yesterday, I was like, what is she talking about? Like, we had not heard from her. I was like, you didn't make any, negative comments to us. So I don't know what you're talking about. So when we get weird feedback like this, if it's positive or even if it's neutral, I'll usually, just kind of let it ride, because those things just, will float down your feedback. And if it's positive, nobody is ever going to notice that. So if you were to respond to that, that would just draw more attention to it, in my opinion. And I'm just going to let that ride and not worry about it, because she never commented to us. She must be thinking of another purchase, or maybe she had the thought that she was gonna make some complaints to us and then just never did it. Who really knows what's going on in the mind of buyers sometimes, but I thought that was unusual and a funny thing I would share with you. But that is why we sold that purse for so cheap, because it did have a puncture hole in it, and I did not feel it was fair to ask too much more than that. And looking back on that, I don't think I would change the price on that because of the condition that that purse was in. Next up was an item that we got from the other business that we own, which is a custom picture frame shop. And this was a signed print called Winter's Light by the artist Carol Gibson Sale. It had a certificate of authenticity and a portfolio holder. This sold for $48.99, which was our full asking price. Next up was another signed and numbered print from the other business that we own. I think we might have sold both of these to the same buyer. I can't recall now, and I don't have that information in my spreadsheet. But this one was a print. It was like a barnscape. I don't know, I might be making up that word, but it was a barnscape print called Deuteronomy 28:8 by the artist Larry Dyke. We actually have a lot of Larry Dyke prints in our store. If anybody's a Larry Dyke fan, you can check those out. We do sell a lot of Larry Dyke. He is a popular artist, especially around Texas. People like Larry Dyke here. That one sold for $25, and that was on best offer. Next up is the movie Fright Night. It was on DVD and it was in used condition. We do not sell a lot of used DVDs, but this particular movie has a good sell-through. So if you do see this movie on DVD, even if it's used, it's worth picking up because it will sell. This one sold for $12.99, and we had paid just 25 cents for that at a garage sale. Next up was a really cool pair of vintage 1970s shoes. They were called Fascinators, and they were unisex shoes, so they would fit either men or women, so I had both sizes on there. They were brown suede lace-up sneakers, and to me they kind of looked like a bowling style shoe, but I just listed them as sneakers. These sold for $75 even on best offer. We did have them in our store for a while, probably maybe 6 or 8 months, but that's not too long on an item that's this high of a price and is kind of a specific item. I think that's pretty typical. We got these at the flea market. We paid $3 for them and they sold on best offer. Next up was a handmade pastel multicolored stripes baby crib blanket sized Afghan that we got at the Goodwill bins during our bins bingo trip. This sold immediately for $29.99 and we had paid just $1.18 for it. Handmade Afghans are a great pickup if they're in really good condition and if they're good colors and well made. They usually sell very fast for us if they meet all of those criteria. This one we got positive feedback on as well. Next up was one of our better finds this year. We actually got 3 of these. This was a Honeywell Home 7-day programmable smart thermostat. So this is the kind of thermostat that will connect with, I don't know if this was an Alexa compatible one or not, but it will connect with your phone, and it's, the kind that you can control when you're not home and stuff like that from your device. So a very expensive thermostat. I don't know how much these retail for elsewhere, but we sold ours at a somewhat of a discounted rate. We paid $17 for each of these at a garage sale, and I had gotten 3. This is the first one that sold, and this one sold for $144.48 on offer to buyer, and we got positive feedback on that. These were brand new, sealed in the packages, and we got these at a garage sale. I'm not sure, I think they had purchased them and then they didn't end up working out for them, or I don't know exactly what the situation was. They didn't work out with the wiring that was in their home or something. So we got just a great deal on them. It really ended up, this was like a really excellent purchase. We made so much money on these. Next up was a retail arbitrage purchase. This was a Fry & Company men's one size butter thermal knit fleece beanie. We got this for $7.95 and it sold on offer to buyer for $22.48. And we got positive feedback on that. Next up was a vintage 1978 Norpro quick drop cookie dough scoop ejector. So it was a device that you would use to pick up your cookie dough and then plop it onto your cookie sheet so that you would pick up the same amount of cookie dough each time and then easily put that on your cookie sheet without getting your hands dirty. I had never seen anything, quite like this before. I saw this at the garage sale, saw that it was marked 1978, thought it was interesting. It did take, 6 or 8 months to sell. This was something I think we had picked up last spring, but I think, Christmas cookie time was rolling around and that was the right time for it to sell. And it sold for its full asking price of $19.99, and we had paid just 50 cents for that. So still was a good pickup, even though it didn't sell like super, super fast. Next up was another Bins Bingo item. We did so well at the Goodwill bins that day when we picked up all of that stuff. We have already made like $500 just from that trip. So that was such a successful trip that day. This was Microsoft Picture It software from 2001, and it was not brand new in the package, even though I thought it was when I picked it up, but it was complete, and we had paid $1.18 for it, and it sold immediately for $27 on best offer. Unfortunately, it got lost in the mail, and the person that we bought it from was just the nicest person. She noticed that it was just kind of stuck, like, it was not going anywhere. It said out for delivery, which is so frustrating because actually, it didn't even say that. It was like past the point of saying out for delivery. It said waiting for delivery scan. It was like on the truck for delivery. And I guess it like fell off the truck or something. I mean, I don't even really know exactly what happened. But it made it onto the truck for delivery, and then something happened and it didn't make it to her. And she was so sweet. She was like, I said, well, it's been a few days that it has said it's been waiting for a delivery scan. I just don't think it's going to make it to you. And I kept trying to file a claim with the post office. And y'all, there is something wrong with the post office website. Every time I have tried to file find my missing mail, I just go to like a 404 page, and I have tried it on every different browser possible, and I can't get it to work, and I'm just getting nowhere with it. I used to be able to kind of get things moving with my missing packages that way, but the post office website has broken, and I don't really know what to do about that. So since that link is broken, I don't really know what to do. I just kind of feel like, okay, well, if something gets lost in the mail, I'm not really sure what to do until that link gets fixed. I guess I need to maybe try to email the post office and say, hey, this link is broken, but I have not done that. So I need to put that on my list. When I'm editing this video, I'm going to put that on my list. So anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent there a little bit, but she kept saying, I don't want to open a case on you. I don't like opening cases on people. And I said, finally I just had to say to her, you don't have to worry about it. Please just open the case, because I can't really further assist you until you open the case. And that if you open a case on me, it is not going to negatively affect me unless I don't resolve it. And I'm just going to immediately resolve it by providing you with a refund, and then everything's going to be okay. But she was just the nicest person. Like, she was just so worried about me, and I'm like, I'm worried about you. You didn't get your item, and we need to make it right with you. So anyway, she was just the sweetest person, and I felt bad for her that she didn't get her item, but she felt bad for me because she didn't want to like mess up my rating. It was, it was kind of a funny exchange because we were each worried about each other. So anyway, she was the sweetest buyer, but she didn't get her item, and it, that just ended up really kind of not working out for anybody, unfortunately. Okay, so next up is an item that we got in a thrift store toy bag, just an item that we listed because it was in the bag, not something that we picked up the bag for. This was a Disney Tarzan 9-inch saber slashing action saber-tooth action figure. Actually, this one was not in great shape. It kind of had some paint damage on it, where the tiger stripes were kind of worn off in a few places. But we still listed it. We listed it a little bit less expensive than some of the others because of that. And it eventually sold on offer to buyer for $15.18. We had paid only 10 cents for that. And we still got positive feedback on it. I mean, the slashing action and everything still worked. So the buyer was happy with it. Next up was an item that we got from the Reseller garage sale, where the reseller was niching down to sell only golf clubs. And this was a 2014 Build-A-Bear My Little Pony plush Trixie Lulamoon pony. This sold for our full asking price of $19.99. And we had paid just $1 for that. I actually had to order a special doll brush because this pony's hair was so tangled. And I had ordered the doll brush that Shed Flips, that Candace on Shed Flips had recommended. And it's the Sophia doll brush, which is available in our Amazon affiliate store link below. But Candace was right. That doll brush is amazing. And because that pony's hair was like so tangled. I don't know what that pony had gotten into, but that pony's hair was incredibly tangled. And I mean, I brushed that pony's hair for like 15 minutes. I earned my $19.99 on this pony because that pony's hair was crazy tangled, and that Sophia doll brush really got it like looking good. So if you sell a lot of dolls and need to brush a lot of dolls' hair, it is worth the $7 or whatever that doll brush is. I think it's like $7.19 or something like that in our link. Although we do have an Amazon Prime membership, so that gives us a bit of a discount. But it is worth whatever you're paying for that brush. It's under $10, I think, for the amount of benefit that you get from it, for sure. So if you sell dolls, look into that Sophia doll brush. And consider using my Amazon affiliate link, or if you're not using mine, consider using another Amazon affiliate seller's link. It just gives us a few cents of your purchase. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes a few cents of your purchase, and we get like a little bit of a commission for, sending you to Amazon to make that purchase. And even if you don't buy that brush, if you use our link to go to Amazon to purchase something, anything that you purchase from Amazon after clicking that link and looking, we receive this very small commission for that. So if you do that, thank you so much. It's just another way that we are paying our bills. Thank you so much. Okay, next up was yet another item from Ben's Bingo. I'm telling you that Ben's Bingo trip is also paying our bills. My goodness. Okay, this was a package of fancy feathers. Kevin was like, fancy feathers. And this was the 35-ounce package of assorted domestic goose feathers. They were brand new. They sold immediately for $8.48, and we had paid $1.18 for those. And actually, we have sold feathers, like packaged craft feathers, a couple of times, and they've always sold immediately. I don't know why, but people like feathers. Next up was a replacement remote control. This also came from the Goodwill Ben's Bingo. Oh my gosh. This was a VCR replacement remote control. This sold for $13 on best offer. We got this at the Ben's at Ben's Bingo for $1.18. Just crazy. And next up, you are never going to believe it, Goodwill Ben's Bingo. This was the 10-inch brown plushed stuffed Domo-kun doll. This is also another item. If you ever see it, pick it up. Always popular, always sells. This is a Japanese animation character, and it's just a very popular character. And anytime I've ever had anything of this character, it has always sold. This sold immediately for $11.18, which isn't much. This one was not in great shape. He had some pilling and we had to clean it up a little bit, and also the tag was missing, but still sold immediately. We had paid $1.18 for it. Like I said, got it at the Ben's. Next up was not something from the Goodwill Ben's. This was something we got at the Vintage Goodness garage sale. This was a brand new sealed DVD of the movie Good Boy. And like I said, we paid $1 for that at a garage sale, and it sold for its full asking price of $9.99. Next up, though, is something we got at the Goodwill Ben's when we were playing Ben's Bingo. This was a Wii Sports game. It was just the disc only. We found the disc only just floating around in a bin, and we grabbed that. We did not have the case for it. So the disc was scratched, but we actually own a Wii, so we were able to test it and make sure it works, and it did. Wii Sports is a game that you pick up whether you have the case with it or not because it always sells. It's just a very popular game. It's like, you know, one of the most popular Wii games. And when we listed it, it sold almost immediately for $19.99, which was our full asking price, and we had paid $1.18 for it, and we got positive feedback on that. Next up was an item I got at an estate sale. This was one of those little duck figurines that I got at the very end of that one estate sale, and I got like all those little duck figurines. This was a little 4-inch wooden hand-painted mallard duck figurine. This one sold for its full asking price of $16.99, and I had paid $3 for that. Next up was something my husband got, like a whole bag of martial arts padding and things like that, but the bag was real cloudy, I guess you would describe it. He couldn't really see into the bag, basically. So it was kind of like a risk. He could see that it was martial arts equipment, and martial arts equipment does really well. So he took the risk of buying it, not really knowing what the condition of the martial arts equipment was. Unfortunately, when we got it home and looked at it, a lot of it had kind of tears on it, and we weren't able to sell any of it. But we were able to salvage this one part, which was a macho martial arts adult one size face shield. So this is out of everything, because included in here was like a head helmet, foam helmet thing, and then some wrist guards and maybe some knee pads, and there was a whole bunch of stuff in the bag, but we basically had to redonate or throw away a lot of it. But the face shield we were able to salvage. Out of all of that, the face shield. He had paid, let's see, I've lost my place. He had paid $5.85 for everything, but we were able to salvage the face shield, but that was enough. That was enough for us to even still make our money back, because that face shield alone sold for $22.99, which was our full asking price. And like I said, he had paid $5.85 for that at the thrift store, and it sold really fast. So that was still worth it. Next up was some vintage 1996 cool stuff craft kit, and they were called Worry Dolls. And I think it maybe had like a little cross stitch part on it. I can't really remember, but you'll see a picture of it over here. But they were these little, they were called Worry Dolls. And so I thought they were really cool looking. We had picked these up in the Goodwill bins a long time ago, not at our most recent trip. We had paid 67 cents for these, and they sold for $12.99 on our full asking price. And we got positive feedback on those. Those did take quite a while to sell though. Next up was something that belonged to my daughter, and she just didn't wear it anymore. She decided to sell it. This was an altered state women's champagne lace-lined gold sparkle sleeveless dress. This sold for $20 even on best offer. Next up was an item that we got in the storage auction unit. This was an 8-ounce bottle of Modessa warm vanilla sugar bubble bath. It was brand new. This sold for $7.25 on best offer, and we had paid just 23 cents for each of the items from that storage unit. Next up was an item that we got doing retail arbitrage, and maybe you can guess what it is. Window clings. Yes, we do so well with window clings. This was a Christmas story themed window clings. These were purchased for $1.35, and they sold for our full asking price of $14.99. Next up was something that we got in the Goodwill bins doing bins bingo yet again. This was the Salad Master lid, and if you know, you know, but Salad Master sells immediately every time, even if it's just the lid. Salad Master is a definite Bolo. This we paid $1.18 for. It sold immediately on best offer for $22, and we got positive feedback on that. Next up was another one of those hip hop pimp necklaces. This one sold for $8.99. We had gotten these at a garage sale. We paid 43 cents a piece. We had gotten them in like a big bulk lot of a whole bunch of them. Somebody had probably had them for a party or something like that. And we got positive feedback on this. Next up was the very last of the 3 of the Philips Respironic Dreamwear under the nose nasal cushions. This, I think, were the large ones. These I had gotten on Nextdoor for free. These sold for $11.99, which was our full asking price, and we got positive feedback on those. Next up was a really beautiful green. I described the color as avocado. It was a silk blend velvet trumpet skirt by Ralph Lauren. We got this at the estate sale where everything was 75% off. We paid $1.35 for it, and it sold really quickly for $30 on best offer. Next up was a plush bear. The brand was Trim Setter by Dillard's. We actually have two of this exact same bear, and this is the first one that sold. This was a 2019 Christmas bear, and it was new with tags. We got this at the thrift store for $1.35, and it sold on full asking price for $26.99. Next up was an Ariat Pro Series Girls Youth size 10 navy equestrian show riding jacket. We got this at the same time that we got those equestrian boots that were returned. This we paid $5 for at a garage sale, and it sold on offer to buyer for $70.48. We also got some equestrian pants at the same time that are still listed in our store, but they have a lot of watchers. So if you ever see any riding clothing or equestrian clothing, that is definitely something you want to pick up. Next up was a 2001 Fisher-Price Little People Nativity Set Replacement Camel. We have sold a lot of Fisher-Price Little People replacement pieces for the Nativity set. When we see those in the Goodwill bins or in toy bags at the thrift store, we pick those particular toy bags up because come Christmas time, people pull those Little People Nativity sets out and realize what pieces they have missing, and we always sell those Nativity replacement pieces. That's definitely something to pick up for the right price. So this one was the camel, and it sold for $8.08, and we had paid 24 cents for that out of a thrift store toy bag. Next up was another item from the Goodwill bins at our Bins Bingo trip. This was a Revere Ware stainless steel egg poacher 6-cup skillet insert tray. We paid $1.18 for it, and it sold immediately on offer to buyer for $20.68. We have sold this egg poacher, like the complete set with the pan and everything, before, and so this is something to be on the lookout for. If you ever see this Revere Ware, any parts of this Revere Ware egg poacher, people like that. Revere Ware is just a popular item. It's a Bolo just the brand is a Bolo Revere Ware. Next up was something that we got at the J. Crew garage sale. This was a J. Crew navy and green Stuart tartan plaid perfect shirt. This we paid $2 for at the garage sale, and it sold for $19 on best offer. Oh, here are the other two Honeywell thermostats that I was talking about. These, like I said, we paid $17 each for, so $34 in total for both of these. Both of these sold to one person for $290. So these sold so fast. We got such a great return on our investment for these. Great pickup. Next up was a pair of Victoria's Secret Sport metallic cargo jogger pants. These were new with tags. We got these at a thrift store. We paid $9.72, which to me is kind of high. I'm not sure why we paid that much. And we had them in our store for quite a while. But they did eventually sell for $25.58 on offer to buyer. And last, I will go over all of the high-value collectible cards from my husband's personal collection. This particular week, we sold 4 high-value cards. The first one was a Magic the Gathering's Antiquities card called Power Artifact. That sold for $196 on auction. Next up was a Magic the Gathering's Legends card called Kobold Overlord. That sold for $52 on auction. We got positive feedback on that. Next up was a Magic the Gathering The Dark card called The Maze of Ith. That sold for $20.55 on auction. And finally was a Magic the Gathering Mirage card called Enlightened Tutor, and that sold for $38 on auction. And this week we did not have any low value cards or cards valued at $10 or under. Those low value cards have just really been in the toilet. Not really sure why, but I did start a really big listing of low value cards. So hopefully that will spur some of those sales on a little bit. So that wraps up our sales for the week of November 19th through 25th. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let us know by hitting the thumbs up button. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel and you enjoyed this content, let us know by hitting the subscribe button with the notification bell on so you can be kept informed of all of our latest content. And stick around to check out one of our other videos that's going to be showing right here. Thanks, and we'll see you on the flip side.